This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking with Steve Toussaint about House of the Dragon. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, thank you. We're having something of a slight heat wave over here, so we're enjoying the sun, the rare sun. So yeah, all is good. How's life over there?
Things are good. I've been traveling a little, so back home and back into interview season, which is one of my favorite seasons. The weather is variable, but it's a great time to talk to a lot of people.
Cool, cool.
So I know you've been working in television and film and theater for a long time. This show feels like it has to be its own beast and really different from everything. Would you say that that's a correct assessment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's an understatement. I mean, it is to be part of that whole Westeros thing. It's a phenomenon, unlike anything else. Um, Not just the expectation, but also the level of work that goes into it from everybody, from all of the crew and all those people, the directors, the way we work. Yeah, it's something that I'm trying to savor as much as I can because blink and it's gone.
You feel like you understand how the characters are related to each other and how it connects to Game of Thrones and all that, or do you feel like you know who's in your immediate universe and that's what's most important?
That's pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, the thing that we were told was, this is something like 170 years before the beginning of Game of Thrones. So you get that. There are people who know far more about it than I do, where sometimes you might say something and they go, yeah, that's right. If you look at season 3 of Game of Thrones, that's what they're happening. So like, I'm like, great, but I just try to work on my reality, my present, which is the scripts that they give me and the people standing in front of me.
There's also such an engaged fan community. I feel like that, as you're saying, people watching the show know more than you do, and that must be a disorienting experience, also a bit of a burden, I imagine. You don't want to say something, they'll be like, that's not right. I can't.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, it can be. I don't know if I would say a burden so much because I love the fact that people are so into it and they're so into the lore of it. I love that. I think sometimes you are a bit concerned if they ask you a question and, and then you go, I have no idea. And they're like, well, surely because of the third war of blah, 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 that would be the case. And I'm like, okay, great, go for that. But I made a decision a long time ago not to engage too much with the books and all that stuff because the world, as in the scripts that I am given, is full enough. Everything that I need is in what they've written, and then I can go and talk to Ryan or Sarah or our directors and get fill in the blanks. I'm not going to go any further into the world. I can't. It'd blow my mind.
I'm a fan of the show, but I'm not a super fan, so we will not be doing any, you know, trivia, connect the character. That's not what's happening today. There's no reason to worry about that. But
Oh,
this season definitely was a very impactful one, especially because we lost a major character. And you have to expect on this kind of show that everybody's going to die at some point. It's going to be bloody and miserable, and those left behind aren't much better off. But when,
mm.
do you remember your reaction when you found out about, Rhaenys and that big death?
Do you know, it's a funny thing. I clearly have a blank because what usually happens is that they send us the scripts first. So we get to read them. And I usually do read them, but I cannot remember my reaction at that point. My reaction came from when we were actually in the rehearsal around the round table. And I was actually sitting next to Eve when that scene came. And I was like, oh my God, no. Oh no. And then the whole room was like, oh no. It was horrible. It was a weird thing. So that's my reaction. So I can only assume that when I was at home reading it, I just blanked it. I was too traumatized. I just blanked the idea of it altogether. But yeah, I remember the reading room and how we were just like, oh God. But as you said, you know, this world, everybody's up for it, so you just never know.
Also, I think Corlys is in an interesting position of power because, the people, the bloodline, I feel like in some ways they're more vulnerable because everybody wants to kill them. They're fighting for power. That said, they're not disposable. Whereas somebody who doesn't isn't in that lineage. So it's really, I mean, I guess that's why, right? It is the Game of Thrones, and even though this is House of the Dragon, it's the idea everyone's just competing the whole time. And so
Mm.
does with a show this has such a big cast but also such a rotating cast because of how often characters die, does that change just the working environment at all, that people just don't know how long they're going to be around for?
Well, I think, yeah, I think when you sign up to a show like this, you know it's possible. I remember hearing an anecdote. I think it was might be David Morrissey told me. David Morrissey was on Walking Dead, and he would talk about how the scripts would come in on a certain day, and when they were shooting, new scripts would come in, and they'd all go into their winnies and read them, and then come back out because they were still alive, and then it'd be something like, "Oh, where's John?" So we don't quite have that. You know, we get the scripts in advance, so we know. But also, as I said, in this world, you expect it. And so what you find actually, and I had this, I won't say who because we're shooting as we speak, but I had a conversation with an actor, and he said, "I'm just happy that I've got this glorious death." So that's kind of what happens is you know you're going to go, so you just want to go memorably, you know, because some people have read the books and like, well, if I go like in the book, it's not all that. But if they come up with something more exciting, so that's once what you want is your for your signature to be something that's like, oh my goodness. And so this I didn't discuss with Eve, but I think her Rhaenys's ending was so impactful, so beautiful. I just thought they did a fantastic job of it. So that's what you hope for.
I like that framing. You know, we know we're not going to last long necessarily, but we want to go out in a blaze of glory. You know, preferably
Yeah.
burned to death by a dragon or something, something really visually appealing.
Yeah.
Well, I do think obviously visual effects are a big part of the show and also the costuming, especially for you. You have a little bit more weight on your head usually, I think. How does,
Mm.
filming, with such intense wardrobe and also with such VFX, how does that impact the experience for you?
So the wardrobe is good. It's actually an aid because once you put that costume on, it does tend to make you stand a little straighter, puts a bit more gravity in your walk, in your stride. That's great. The wig is not that much of a problem. It's not that heavy. It's actually quite light. Um, there have been a couple of occasions when I have sort of regretted it and gone, "Oh God, can't you just be bald?" Usually, a battle scene with that and a helmet on is just like, oh, that's awful. And there was one time we were shooting, I think it was season one. Yeah, it was season one. We were shooting a scene where all of the lords of the realm come to pledge allegiance to young Rhaenyra, played by Millie at the time. That was in a room, which is quite big, but still had about 200 supporting artists, plus naked flame everywhere. And it was a hot summer's day. That was terrible. That I don't regret. But other than that, no, it's for me, it's not too bad. In terms of the VFX, again, I don't have that much because my character is not a dragon rider, so I don't have to do the stuff that I don't know if anyone's told you about how they do that, where they all sit on a buck and just get swung around with a director going swoop that. So I don't have any of that. The most I've had, we did a battle scene in season one, episode three, where they basically did a lot of CGI because they couldn't find a location that was quite right. So they built a beach for us to have this battle on. You don't notice that because you're interacting with other people. And this season there probably a bit more because I'm at sea a bit more. So there may be a little bit more there. But so far what we've had is like we'll be on the set of the ship, Queen Who Never Was, and our director, who's Lonnie, who's directing the first one, he'll just sort of go, "Dragon!" And we all have to look in a particular direction, and as if we've seen it, going, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." So that's the extent to my interaction. I don't have to sing to a dragon, I don't have to stroke a dragon, so not so bad.
I was realizing I had an interview, I think, with one of your directors in the past, and so I like heard it from the other side of like, this is what
Yeah.
we do, and then the cast has to react. So, but I also
Yeah.
wonder, talking about a table read, like the effectiveness of a table read when everyone's just sitting there, not in costume with everything, like it must not feel the same as it really does, on the day.
No, exactly. I think for that very reason, the stakes don't seem as high because we're all like this, and so it's all very jolly, and we've all got our coffees or our whatever water and our pastries. The minute you put the costume on and you're on that set or out on location somewhere with the weapons and all of that stuff, suddenly everything just ratchets up. It really helps, and I think one of the things that I have said before is that the amount of detail that they go into in terms of how they've created the set, all of that just plays in to you getting into the mindset and getting into the reality of what you're trying to portray. It's truly magnificent what they've done.
Well, on the note of something a little bit more relatable, how are you feeling about Corliss as a father?
Well, hmm. Well, it was a shock when I started reading the season two pages and went, "What he did? What?" I thought, Um, but the funny thing is, when I first had a meeting with Ryan and Miguel, who were our co-showrunners on season one, what we spoke of more than anything else was actually Corliss as a father. This is before I knew about these two other boys. But about the fact, never mind the fact that he's a great sailor or that he's a warrior. It's the key to him is the fact that he's a father trying to secure his legacy in a clumsy way, as far as his kids are concerned. But that's the thing. So I think when we meet him, certainly in season two, he feels like that's all been taken away from him because, of course, as far as he's concerned, his son is dead, his daughter is dead, and when we meet him, his grandson is dead, who would have been the heir to the throne, to the Driftmark throne. And so now he's trying to make up for the fact that he neglected these two boys all those years ago. And what I found very interesting was, well, two things. First of all, that he had this affair, but then it's not like he had an affair. The lady said, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and he went, "Okay, here's some money," and ran away. He stuck around so that she could have another child. So you kind of go, okay, that's an interesting. I don't know what he was thinking of because I know for a fact, me playing it and having spoken to Ryan and everybody, that his love for Rhaenys is true. But I guess people are able to compartmentalize. So maybe this lady was quite special. And then the second thing was that they grew up in the shadow of his castle. And then, in fact, I think it's the last episode of season two when Alan finally tells him how he feels about him and has that thing where Abby was just amazing, just screaming and all this feeling comes out and says, "How do you think we felt watching you go by while we were starving and you were going by with your rich son?" And I think so. I think Corliss as a father leaves a lot to be desired, but he's doing his very best, and that continues into this season, doing his very best to make up for it in as much as you can for something like that.
You told me that Corliss is still a father, he's at sea, and someone dies. Do you have any other major season three spoilers that you can drop right here?
That's it. That's it. I'm waiting for the red dot on my shirt. No, that's it. I can't say anymore.
Was there anything else you're working on while we're waiting for season three to come out that you can share?
Not really. I mean, I'm no, as an actor, no, nothing at the moment. This kind of takes up my time because when I'm not shooting, we've got fight training and we've got horse riding and stuff like that. So I'm doing all that. But I'm also writing my own projects as well. So that's the thing that is taking up my time. So hopefully next time we speak, I'll be able to say to you, "Oh, and also here's the thing I wrote earlier, and we're doing that." So fingers crossed.
Great. What do you like to watch on TV these days?
Oh, do you know what I'm watching at the moment? There are four things that I'm watching regularly at the moment. There's a show called Shrinking, which is great. I think it's such wonderful writing, such lovely story. A thing called it's either called Zero Day or Zero Hour. It's Robert De Niro.
Zero Day, yeah.
Zero Day. Then there's an interesting thing called I think it's called Dope Thief with this great actor who was in Atlanta. I've forgotten his name.
Oh,
Do you know?
yeah, with Brian Tyree Henry.
Right, yeah, it's just terrific. And the last thing, which I'm really enjoying, is a thing called Your Friends and Neighbors. Just I love those shows, man, because they're great performers, great writing, and you can see the performers having a great time while they're doing them. I love that. Those are the dream job. That's the next thing after this dream job, something like that.
And that's a big cast, but not quite as dense a universe to navigate.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Steve, it was such a pleasure to meet you. I wish you great luck with surviving or going out in a blaze of glory, whichever you'd like in this show, and with writing your own projects in the future.
Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you.